Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sean Fafaro. I am the voice of the Griffins. It's my honor to be your Master of Ceremonies for this prestigious event once again. Before we begin, I would first like to recognize the land. We acknowledge that this building resides on the ancestral territory of the Attawandaron people, and most recently, the treaty lands and territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We also offer our respect to our Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Métis neighbors as we strive to strengthen our relationships with them. This marks the 30th Griffin Hall of Fame dinner and induction ceremony. Welcome. On behalf of the Department of Athletics, I would like to extend a warm welcome to the inductees, their families, friends, and teammates, Hall of Fame members, alumni, friends, and supporters of the Guelph Griffins, and some of our current coaches and student athletes. From the senior administration, we would like to welcome Dr. Franco Vaccarino, our President and Vice Chancellor, Dr. Carrie Chassels, VP Student Affairs, Jason Morton, AVP Alumni Advancement, and Ray Darling, University of Guelph Registrar. We also have two past athletic directors here with us this evening. We'd like to welcome back Dave Kopp and Tom Kendall. We would also like to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Advisory Committee, which is comprised of past inductees Sam Benincasa, Kay Hogg, Mitch Mason, Lynn Rawson, and Mark Walton. And our board of directors, Wally Gabler, Andy Beckler, Sam Kozakowski, Angela Orton, Katie Mora, Bill Clausen, and Michelle Turley. This evening, the Griffins past, present, and future converge. The purpose of this evening is to celebrate the accomplishments of individuals who have made significant contributions to the athletic programs here at the University of Guelph, and who, as a result of their accomplishments, have enhanced the image and reputation of the university. This is part of the Griffins' past and our history. Here with us tonight from the 2018-19 cross-country and track and field and men's volleyball teams are our present-day captains, the captains of those teams that we honor this evening. I'd like to ask the captains to please stand as your names are announced for acknowledgement and remain standing until all of our individuals have been recognized. Our captains from cross-country and track and field are here. Please welcome Connor Black, Kyle Sinden, Siobhan Roxborough, Charlotte Ward, and Steph Sorellis. Also, please welcome our men's volleyball team captain, Matt Baxter. Thank you to our captains for joining us this evening. We stand here today in this beautiful, brand new facility that some of you may have not even seen yet, where the future is bright for our Griffins. One day, these current captains may fill the shoes of those individuals that we honor tonight, or some of our past inductees who have set the benchmarks so high. Before we get started, let's update you on how the Griffins are doing right now. Several of our Griffin teams are off to flying starts, beginning with our talented soccer teams. The reigning OUA champion women have avoided any letdown in their title defense, hitting the halfway mark of the season unbeaten at 6-0-2. That's good for first place in the OUA West. Guelph has not allowed a single goal in 8 matches, and third-year striker Victoria Hinchcliffe ranked second in the country in scoring with 9 goals. She had a hat trick just this past Sunday. The Griffin men have been equally impressive. They lead the OUA West through 8 games, and they've won 5 straight matches. Jace Katsopoulos, a second-team All-Canadian last season, has been nothing short of outstanding, leading the country with 12 goals, many of which have come at huge times for his team. The Griffin football team entered the week ranked number 10 in the country on the heels of a 26-20 victory on the road in Windsor last week. The defense has been incredible, allowing just 16.5 points per game, with fifth-year linebacker and reigning OUA Defensive Player of the Week, Luke Corral, leading the charge. Our fourth-year quarterback, Theo Landers, is constructing some big plays, and the Griffins seem poised for another win streak, just like last year, and that's going to start tomorrow. The U of G has always been renowned for its strong rugby program. Both the women and men are off to perfect starts. The two-time OUA champion Griffin women got a stern test in their opener at Queen's, but they passed it. and then rolled on to a 73-0 win at Western last week. The reigning OUA Female Athlete of the Week, Emanuela Jada, starred in that one, scoring a match-high 4 tries. Guelph's men, who were awarded an OUA silver medal last year before hosting the national tournament right here in Guelph, they've looked big and fast with 3 straight wins out of the gate, and they've outscored their opponents 150-36 in a few dominant performances. Guelph's lacrosse teams are also making an early statement, particularly the women, who've been one of the surprises in the OUA. The Griffins are 3-2 through 5 games, already matching their win total from 2017. The men took a big leap last year, have won 2 of their first 3, the only loss coming against first place Brock. More Griffin teams are about to embark on their seasons, and given the incredible standard set at our school, there will be many results to celebrate. Let's have a round of applause for all of our Griffin teams starting our seasons off so well. It's now my pleasure to welcome to the stage the Director of Athletics here at the University of Guelph, Mr. Scott McRoberts.
Promised Sean I wouldn't take his notes after. Good evening, everybody, honorees, family, and friends. On behalf of the University of Guelph and the Department of Athletics, we'd like to welcome you to our campus and our beautiful Guelph Griffin Athletic Center. Tonight is a milestone in the history of Griffin Athletics as we are here to celebrate our 30th induction banquet. To the alumni here this evening, thank you for coming back to campus, and thank you for strengthening our network of Griffin Athletics. I'd also like to thank those individuals here tonight who are already members of our Hall of Fame. Sean mentioned their names before, and really this group represents the best of the best in our rich athletic history. And to all inductees here with us tonight, a simple message: thank you. Your accomplishments and contributions as a student athlete to your sport, the university, and our community were exceptional, and each of your legacies are rightly being honored here this evening with all of us. Tonight we celebrate 4 athletes, 2 builders, and 2 teams. I'm going to start with Dave Irwin. Dave Irwin was a 2-time All-Canadian and a Yates Cup champion who went on to get drafted into the Canadian Football League. He was known not only as a big play receiver on the field, but also a great teammate, person, and who above all was driven by a team-first approach. Brooke Hilditch was the very definition of a student athlete, an intelligent, talented, and driven individual who excelled in both rugby and wrestling. Brooke's 2003 season, which included an OUA rugby gold medal, the conference MVP, all-Canadian honors, individual and team silver medals in wrestling, as well as the U of G Varsity Honor Award, Female Athlete of the Year, and President's Trophy. And we have to remember, she went to class too. She will rank as one of the most memorable seasons ever put together by any Griffin. JC Murphy Kresnik was an unstoppable force on the rugby pitch throughout her entire Griffin career, which ended in storybook fashion. She was a 2-time Griffin Female Athlete of the Year and considered one of the best athletes to ever play in the program. JC's last appearance as a Griffin came in a long-awaited, hard-earned win in the 2011 National Championship match. Kyle Boersma may possess one of the longest lists of accomplishments ever achieved by any Griffin athlete. Kyle was generally fearless when he ran cross-country and track, a 3-time Griffin Male Athlete of the Year, and a 10-time All-Canadian, an astonishing figure. His mind was as strong as his body, and he proved it every time he competed for the University of Guelph. Our athletes create the memories that last a lifetime, but they can only happen with the work of those behind the scenes. Those who provide the direction, guidance, and resources for the whole varsity program. This year's builders embody that ideal. Tom Kendall would settle for nothing short of excellence in his 11-year tenure as athletic director. A record-setting basketball coach, he had a genuine passion for winning, and that energy permeated throughout the Department of Athletics, manifesting in 45 OUA banners and 29 national titles with him in charge. But Tom's impact went beyond results on the field. He had a significant role in helping plan the magnificent athletics infrastructure, which we sit in here today, as well as promoting the Griffin brand, which is now prominent throughout the city of Guelph, and you'll see them on the road. During his tenure, Tom also recognized that it was a pivotal time for women in sport. He spearheaded our She's Got Game Gala, which has now turned into its 4th year, an initiative that has gone much further beyond that, a movement on campus by U of G Guelph Griffins, a national and international leader in the She's Got Game movement for women in sport. And Larry Pearson, some of you might see his name above me. Larry Pearson has devoted the last 50 years of his life to Griffin athletics as a player, volleyball coach, and donor. He took an active leadership role in the Building Potential campaign and has been incredibly generous with his time, resources, serving on U of G's Board of Governors from 1995 to 2001, and spearheading the support of varsity athletes with the Larry Pearson Scholarship Fund. Over the years, Larry has generously given back to his alma mater, and his philanthropy has continued to grow. Now, when our users enter this facility, you enter through the Larry Pearson main entrance. And our fans are given the best in-game sports entertainment through a top-of-the-line video scoreboard donated by Larry. He joked this evening that it's just his way to find his way through the entranceway to the gym so he doesn't get lost. His love and passion for the university has never wavered, and he has played a key role in elevating the entire program for what it is today. And sports fans often debate and dissect who they believe the greatest teams are of all time. At the University of Guelph, there's no question that the 2005-2006 women's cross-country team and the 1977-1978 men's volleyball team deserve to be recognized amongst the best ever in this school's rich history. The women's cross-country team ultimately delivered on the promise of a young rookie center squad from a few years prior. The CIS banner won that year established a level of excellence that spurred one of the greatest runs in university sports, with 12 consecutive national titles. When the 1977-78 OUA men's volleyball season got underway, Guelph likely wasn't considered a favorite for a title at all. But Larry Pearson led a group of hardworking young athletes to an unlikely championship banner, the only win ever for the Griffin men's volleyball program, for now. Taking a cue from their determined coach, the group never gave up and ultimately defeated Queens to make history. To all of our inductees tonight, thank you for dreaming big and for being first-class representatives of the university and the Department of Athletics. We hope tonight's ceremony induction is one you will never forget, and thank you for being with us here tonight. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for leaving my notes. I'd now like to invite another special guest to the stage. I'd like to invite the President and Vice Chancellor of the University of Guelph, Dr. Franco Vaccarino.
Well, thank you very much, Sean. And actually, let me take this opportunity to give a shout out to Scott McRoberts and his team. They've done an absolutely amazing job leading up to today. And, coming into his role, he's coming out of the rookie category, but coming into his new role, Scott really had a very, very high bar. Athletics here at the University of Guelph is very special, and I think he's done an absolutely terrific job, and I just want to thank him and the entire team for a fantastic job. Thank you. So welcome, everyone. I'm absolutely privileged and delighted to be able to share and join in this celebration as we recognize a group of inductees who have played such a significant and important role in promoting and shaping Griffin athletics. And I have to say that over and over again, I'm absolutely amazed at the talent of our teams on the playing field. And, Sean was pointing out some of the statistics this year, and I would say that those highlight the excellence in sport. If you think about the broader context, a big part of that is also their talent. The talent is also about the commitment that goes into balancing life as student athletes, that balance. Our athletes and teams this year are among the most accomplished in the history of the university varsity program. They're absolutely terrific, first rate, and that balance, that ability to balance academics is so key. And our 2018 class of inductees are an outstanding representation of what Griffin Athletics is all about and what it's become. I'd like to thank this incredible group that we've heard about for their commitment to the university, and also truly for their powerful and impactful contributions to the foundation of Griffin Athletics. You know, I talk a lot about sustainable platforms, and the cycle time of change is so quick these days that it's so important to have platforms that are sustainable, that make sure we're strong, not just today, but going into the future. And our inductees have really played such a huge role in creating that very sustainable platform. So celebrating the success of our inductees this evening recognizes their amazing accomplishments and inspires all of us to carry on the legacy of excellence that have helped create. And again, congratulations to each of you for your brilliant achievements as part of our Griffin family, and I look forward to a wonderful evening tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Vaccarino. Ladies and gentlemen, our Griffin Hall of Fame has 174 esteemed members, and it has 29 championship teams. This evening, we have 19 of our Griffin Hall of Fame members from both the athlete and the builder categories in attendance with us here tonight. Throughout the night, I will be introducing them, and throughout the evening, while we have dinner, I'll introduce a few at a time so we can acknowledge all of our former Griffin Hall of Famers who are here. So I'm going to introduce a few right now. So when your name is announced, kindly stand. We will start off. I'll say this before I introduce our first Hall of Fame member. As we said off the top, this is our 30th Hall of Fame member. We are pleased to have with us from our very first Hall of Fame class, Linda Kazienko. We are also joined by Robby Keith. Robby's right down here. Dave Kopp is here. There's Dave. Jim Atkinson. Where's Jim? I spoke to him earlier. Right over here. Michelle Turley. Doug Dodd. There's Doug over here. And Colette McCauley. Ladies and gentlemen, your Griffin Hall of Fame members. We will introduce more throughout the evening during dinner. Also, a special welcome to members of our 1958 and 59 Hall of Fame football teams. They are here on campus for homecoming week for their 59th and 60th reunions at this year's homecoming celebration. Gentlemen, welcome back. I just want to say something else briefly, too. For those of you that we talked, both Scott and Franco talked about this building here and how some of you who are coming back to campus may not have even seen this building until tonight. I'd encourage you, if you have some time between courses tonight, between dinner, roam the halls, take a look down here. Maybe go up that hallway up there, because on that hallway up there is where our Hall of Fame plaques currently reside. Just down that hallway, you'll see it just here above where the stands pull out. Now, traditionally at our Hall of Fame banquet, we induct our inductees, they get their plaques, and then the plaques that remain here go up a week later, a few days later. However, tonight, we have already put the plaques up for this year's inductees. So if you are taking a walk, please take a moment when you're in the upper hallway and take a moment to acknowledge the people that we do honor here this evening. At this moment, I would like to invite Connor Black to the stage to toast our Hall of Fame class of 2018.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here tonight to recognize some of the finest Mighty Griffs to ever storm this campus and recognize their athletic feats that left a legacy. These individuals were the cream of the crop, standing out from their peers and consistently raising the bar. Each of you left impressions on your team and teammates and are legends in the locker room today. And that is why we're here tonight, to celebrate you. We want to thank you for setting the stage of excellence. So please raise a glass to the Hall of Fame class of 2018. Cheers.
Thank you, Connor. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a wonderful evening planned. Thank you for coming and being a part of it tonight. Please sit back, relax. We will serve dinner momentarily throughout the evening. I would like to direct your attention to the large screens at the front. There is one on either side. Also, you can see it on the scoreboard above me, where a montage of pictures from the past and present will be highlighted throughout dinner. And with that, dinner is served. Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed your first course. If I could have your attention, it's time to acknowledge some of our other Griffin Hall of Fame members who are present with us this evening. Remember, folks, when your name is announced, please kindly stand. Welcome back, Karen Lee. Welcome back, my good friend, Tom Sawyer. Welcome back to Fred Dunbar. We also have with us Kay Hogg. Here with us this evening is Dan Toker. And also Tony Tenwestenind. Ladies and gentlemen, your next batch of Griffin Hall of Fame members. Please enjoy your next course. It's coming out shortly. Thank you. Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you've enjoyed your main course. We do have dessert coming out shortly, but while we have an opportunity, I'd like to recognize the remaining Hall of Fame members who are here with us this evening. We have Donna Velitis. We also have with us tonight Dave Hume. Wendy Lamers is here. Welcome back to Bill Sproul. We have Mitch Mason. And we have John Jansen. And I'd like to specify, the last time I was up here acknowledging our Hall of Fame members, I mentioned my good friend Tom Sawyer, but I found out after he was out of the room. So Tom, if you're in here, stand up for us right now because we want to acknowledge that Tom is here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause one more time for all of your former Griffin Hall of Fame members who are here with us this evening. Thank you very much. 4 generational athletes, 2 builders, and 2 history-making teams. Tonight, the Guelph Griffins Athletics Hall of Fame welcomes a new class of 2018 with each of the recipients fully deserving the honor. 2-time All-Canadian football player Dave Irwin. Two-sport athlete Brooke Hilditch. Rugby star Yates Kresnik. Cross-country and track and field legend Kyle Boersma. Former athletic director Tom Kendall. Volleyball player, coach, and donor Larry Pearson. The 2005 Griffin women's cross-country team. And the 1977-78 men's volleyball team. They have all contributed immensely to the University of Guelph's rich sporting history. We will begin this evening's inductions with this year's athlete category. I would like to invite Scott McRoberts to the stage to hand out the athlete awards. First up, it's my pleasure to introduce the head coach of the cross-country and track team to introduce our first athlete inductee. Please welcome Dave Scott Thomas.
Thanks, Sean. Boss, I kind of feel like Kanye West up here. That's a Glastonbury joke. Okay, hey, listen, let's get the show rolling. Wally Gabler, wherever you're hiding, you give me a time. He's bowing his head. Punishment, Wally. I'm a professional track coach. I live by the clock. So this one's for you, boss. So, Kyle, 2010, we went to the National Indoor Track and Field Championships in Windsor. And Kyle was already an established athlete by then. We took a team down and we knew it was going to be a dogfight for a national title with us and the host Lancers. Here's how track works. You've got 34 events. They go over 3 days. There's about 300 per event, and the top 12 in the country get to the show, and the top 8 score points. If you're 8, you get 1 point, and it goes up to 10 to get 10 points. Like, to put it in context, a 3 or 4 point athlete is a big deal. That's the difference between winning and losing a national title. So we went down there, and Kyle was entered in 2 events, the 3,000 and the 1,500. And before the event started, he came jogging by me, and I said, you look fast. And that was just kind of a throwaway line. And he looked at me, and he said, I am fast. And there was no boasting. It was kind of like Arnold's Terminator T-1000 kind of voice. And I thought the University of Guelph Boersmas would be top 10 in the country with a team size of 1, like on their own. Kyle won the 3,000, he got us 10 points, and the rest of our team kind of imploded over the next few days, and we went into our last event, the 1,500, where Kyle was the favorite, but we were down, and him winning wasn't going to be enough. So I met with him and our other 2 guys in the event, and we came up with a near-suicidal plan. And if you understand our sport at all, you'll appreciate how difficult this is. He took the field out at sub-4-minute mile pace, gapped them, intentionally slowed down so our other 2 guys in the race, who are not medal favorites, could run a pick off of our own guy, get a little space deep in the race, and we were just doing a Hail Mary, like a buzzer-beater 3-pointer that this miracle shot could work out. And it did. We went 1-3-5, and we won a national championship by 1 point. And why do I tell you that? I'll tell you that because the first guy across the line was Kyle Boersma. Like, we actually dug a hole, threw him in it, poured cement in it, set it on fire, had gorillas jump on the hole, left him for dead. So 2 other guys, his teammates, could win a title, and he still came back. And that tells you in a quick moment everything you need to know about that guy. He'll do it for community, he'll do it for team, he'll sacrifice himself. He's a superb athlete, and when he needs to, he'll find this weird, freaky, dark, toxic space that I don't even want to go close to that often and get it done. And when I asked him how he pulled it off, he just said, I'll be damned if I'll let those guys finish ahead of me. So he is just, it takes that to win 18 U Sport medals. 13 of them gold. You've heard it from Scott, 7 national titles for this institution, 3-time Griffin of the Year, ran internationally for this country. I should point out, first time he got his karting fund from the government, he spent it on thank you gifts for people that had helped him through life and drove around the community and shared that. Superb guy. Lest you think he is perfect, and we work together now, he occasionally will show up in our office in spandex. He occasionally will wear a little ponytail, and not like a Greg Allman cool ponytail, like a Zac Efron little ponytail. He'll do that. He eats donuts day in and day out, and he's lived in a van by the river. This is true, and sent me pictures of him in the van by the river with the ponytail eating donuts in spandex. So he's the consummate guy, absolutely fearless, dialed in, super tough. You know, they say the good athletes make their teammates better. I'm a teammate. It's made me better. Kyle, start walking up here right now. I'm about to introduce you and bring you onto the stage. But absolutely one of the great gifts of my life is not to be successful on the field of play only, but to learn and be taught by those I work with. Here is one of the best guys I've ever learned from, one of the most ethical athletes I've ever coached, and one of the most superb people it's my pleasure to know in life, Kyle Boersma. And on time, Wally.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted September 21st, 2018, athlete Kyle Boersma.
Thank you, and thanks, Dave, for that great introduction. Anyone who knows Dave and has heard him speak before, you'll know that he sticks to the time frame. He's mathematically correct. It's genuine and heartfelt, and I appreciate that. And he usually likes to throw in a little bit of his mischievous sense of humor. So Dave and I have known each other for over 15 years now, and he's got a lot of material that he could have thrown out, and I think it was a wise move not to dig too deep in there, because I can see a time in the future when he'll be up here being inducted, and I'll still be around, and if I need to get any revenge, I can come and do his introduction for him. I'm incredibly proud to be up here in front of you all tonight and being recognized for my athletic achievements and contributions to the cross-country and track and field teams. I'm incredibly fortunate to have grown up in Guelph and the community and the University of Guelph, and to be in that environment, there are so many people that I have to thank. I'd like to thank all of my teachers, professors, coaches, therapists, the athletic department, and their administrators, my family, and my friends for the impact you've had on my life and the contributions in getting me to where I am today. For any athlete, the coach-athlete relationship is something that's critical in their development. But it's not always, it doesn't always go the way you think it goes. So for Dave and I, at no point did he take me aside, bring me into his office and say, hey, look, you've got some potential. So here's a workout that if you do this, you're going to win the U Sports Championships. It doesn't go like that. But I do remember Dave taking me into his office, and we were sitting down to have a conversation that ended up changing my athletic trajectory. And he started by saying, Kyle, you're like a super focused laser. And I started nodding, yeah, that's cool, lasers are cool, right on. And he says, no, that's not what I meant. And he says, you're like a surgeon, and you're super precise with your incisions. And I started nodding again, yeah, that's awesome, okay, surgeons are cool. And he said, no, this isn't going at all how I thought it was gonna go. And I was a little bit confused. And he said, so I'm just gonna say what's in my head. And he said to me, you're being too formulaic with the way that you approach athletics. And I was a little bit confused, but he said, if you want to be the best you can be, you want to achieve everything you can, you have to find a way to bring out that emotional side of you. That has to be critical. And he said, when you go out and compete and when you get on the line, it's not going to be the workouts you've done or things like that that give you confidence. It's going to be going out and doing it for the people, your teammates, and those around you. And that's an emotional connection. And that was a huge thing for me to take on and understand, and it really allowed me to get to the next level. And those are the kinds of people at the University of Guelph that really make a difference for the athletes that come in to this environment. And it's why I chose to come to the University of Guelph, or at least why I thought I chose to come to the University of Guelph. And at one point, maybe a couple years into my athletic career, I tried to explain this to my mom, or my parents. And I said, oh yeah, well, things were going great, and here's why I chose to come to the University of Guelph. And she said, I don't think it happened quite that way. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, I think I was a part of that. And I was like, yeah, of course you were a part of that, but ultimately you let me make my decision. And she said, oh, is that how you remember it? And I thought, yeah, for sure. Of course you let me make my own decision. And I chose to come to the University of Guelph because of the people. And she said, well, when you were a little boy and you were growing up, every time we drove past the university, I said to you, that's the school you're going to go to one day. And I thought, so you brainwashed me. But it worked out well, so that's okay. One thing my parents did for me that's going to last a lifetime was they convinced me that if I wanted to have fun, it was going to be through competition. So if I wanted to have fun, I should go out and challenge my buddies to some sort of race or something. And that passion and enthusiasm for competition has stuck with me. It's never died. It's never going to burn out. It's here with me now. And it's something that I feel very privileged to try and pass on as a coach now on the track team to our new generation of athletes. The only difference is, as an athlete, you're capped at 5 years of eligibility. And as far as I can tell, I can stick with this coaching thing forever. So I think there's going to be way more national championships coming for the track and field team. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. One more time, a round of applause for our 2018 inductee, Kyle Boersma. I'd now like to ask former head coach of our men's and women's Griffin rugby team and Griffin Hall of Fame member to the stage to introduce our second athlete inductee. Please welcome Jim Atkinson.
Thank you. It's indeed an honor to be able to come up here and give you a little bit of background on Brooke Hildich's career as an athlete at Guelph. You can read the details of what she achieved in her time here as an athlete in the brochure and online, but that fails to really show the kind of person she was. I mentioned in my description of her that she was a low-maintenance athlete, and those of you who've coached know that when you have athletes, some of them are high maintenance and need a lot of input and a lot of careful control. And then there are ones who you say, this is what we have to do, and lo and behold, they just go and do it. So getting her done was the mantra for Brooke as a player, which was also part of her academic life as well. The two things that really stand out to me as what makes her special, she was a two-sport athlete. When I first came to Guelph, that was more common. It became less so as the years went by. I was very fortunate as the rugby coach to be able to recruit people from programs such as ice hockey, wrestling, and so forth into rugby, because rugby wasn't an established sport in Ontario, Canada, or generally. And we had to find talent where we could. Soon you're going to see Colette McCauley up here. When I first met her, she could run really fast in straight lines. and then she became a rugby player and played for Canada. And running straight lines doesn't get you anywhere in rugby. They catch up with you. So finding athletes who had the versatility to play other sports and to be effective at them was really kind of a keystone of my coaching career. In the case of Brooke, she was just telling me she was kind of recruited almost into the wrestling program by Tara Hedican, who was inducted 2 years ago into the Hall of Fame, who did the dirty on me. She was such a good wrestler, she quit rugby and focused on her wrestling program after being our Rookie of the Year. But she did introduce Brooke to the sport of wrestling too. And the amazing thing about wrestling is you really have to have very little respect for your body, and you can put it through all kinds of pain and still come out the other end. That makes for a good rugby player too. So Brooke really applied her skills that way. The other thing is, I'm an academic. I was coaching for all those years, but I was also teaching at the university. And to my mind, university athletics, we need bright, smart athletes, but we need bright, smart students too. And she epitomized both of those things. She was a brilliant athlete, and she was a brilliant scholar. And the amazing thing is, rugby has a bit of a load to bear. People think, well, you're a rugby player, you're just an oaf, you're just going to wander around and beat people up or whatever. Not true at all. Lots of smart rugby players out there. Paul Jackson is here, inducted with the volleyball team, Dr. Paul Jackson, so he didn't get beat up too badly on the rugby field when he was there. Dr. Roman Lano, also being inducted, also switched from the volleyball program to rugby for a year, and he's never been the same since, actually, but still. So the ability to come to an institution, contribute at an elite level as an athlete and as a scholar, I think is an amazing achievement. And you're going to see in a few moments someone who epitomizes, as I said, the scholar-athlete ideal. Brooke Hilditch, come to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted September 21st, 2018, athlete Brooke Hilditch.
Wow, I don't think I ever dreamt of this moment. I'm so honored to be in this room with all the current Hall of Famers, as well as those being inducted today. I'm also honored to be put on the wall of this beautiful, gorgeous new building at the University of Guelph. It's my first time here, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. I have so many people to thank and for being on this stage tonight, and I'm going to start with my parents who are here tonight. Super supportive, who never missed any game, traveled around the world watching me play rugby, and I can't thank you guys enough for all your encouragement and support throughout my career. Thank you to my husband, Jeff, who continuously cheered me on and also supported me through my Griffin days, despite being a Western Mustang. And of course, thank you to Jim Atkinson, Colette McCauley, Chantal Raverly, Ian Duncan, and Doug Cox for coaching me. They made an enormous impact on my careers in wrestling and rugby. And of course, I can't thank enough is all my Griffin teammates. Unbelievable teammates that really made me who I am and put me up here tonight. Just to name a few, my co-captain and longtime friend, Natalie Ben-David, Jocelyn Cook, Sarah Willie, the Swain sisters, Tara Hedican, Janelle Ritchie, Kristen Bowman, and many, many more. I could go on forever talking about the awesome teammates I had here. Being a Griffin athlete taught me so many important lessons. I just want to go through a couple with you. The first one taught me of having this feeling of belonging and how important that is in life. Moving away from home at the age of 19 was a big step for me, but being part of the rugby team within a couple weeks, I felt like I could call Guelph my home. Meeting and playing beside some amazing athletes, such as Maria Gallo, who is also in the Hall of Fame, and also meeting and playing with Nat and Sarah, who were in first year with me, helped my transition a lot easier. The second lesson I learned was the commitment and dedication from being a Griffin athlete. I've been a part of many sports prior to being a Griffin athlete and at competitive levels, but I never felt that true, strong connection that I felt to my fellow Griffin teammates. We were together almost every day. We understood the importance of being positive, always putting your best effort forth, and we all had that never give up attitude at every training session. And these attributes came in particular handy, which I've heard was last year at Nationals, but playing in the snow and freezing cold weather. We never gave up. Nothing would stop us. In addition, joining the wrestling team, again, thanks to Tara Hedikin, who convinced some rugby players that we should try out the sport of wrestling, I realized that it wasn't just a rugby thing, but that I think the commitment and dedication shown was a Griffin athlete thing. The wrestling team was very strong, connected, and I was really glad to have that commitment and true grit that I got from rugby to be on the wrestling mat, because I really gained a respect for wrestlers and the true mental toughness that they needed to have being on that wrestling mat all alone. And the final and third lesson is that I was finally able to experience a true passion for the sport of rugby. This allowed me to pursue my dreams of playing rugby for Canada, and I encountered many ups and downs in this pursuit, but thanks to my Griffin days and that passion that I built for the sport helped me to never give up my dream to play for Canada. And regardless, some coaches thought I wasn't good enough, I never backed down and did achieve my goal of playing for Canada. I continued to play with my heart on my sleeve at all levels of rugby after my Griffin days. The passion for rugby has allowed me to be a rugby coach, as well as to share many relationships with friends who have the very similar passion for rugby. Guelph will forever hold a special place in my heart, and it's where I learned so many life skills that have and will continue to help me through the next chapters of my life. The opportunities and memories of being a Griffin athlete will be told to my children, including meeting Roberta Bondar, as well as playing rugby in the snow, winning the OU8 championships in my last year, as well as traveling to Bishops, Ottawa, and Thunder Bay for national championships. Being a mother of 2 young boys, I have already had to use these 3 characteristics many times when both of them needed my undivided attention at the same time. In addition, being a rugby coach and a physical educator, I share my passion of sport with adolescents every day, and I sure hope they are as lucky as me to learn these valuable lessons through physical activity. Again, I want to thank you very much for this incredible honor to be inducted into the Griffin Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Brooke. A round of applause one more time for inductee Brooke Hilditch. I'd like to introduce Griffin football alumnus Steve Burns to introduce our 3rd athlete inductee of the night. Please welcome Steve.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and honored guests. A few minutes ago, I was asked by Dave Irwin to introduce him on this very special occasion, and I couldn't have been happier to accept this great honor. When I told my wife about this honor, she pointed out that this isn't going to be like my speech at Dave's wedding, where people are expecting a few laughs. She reminded me more than a few times that tonight is all about Dave Irwin. It's not about Steve Burns. So after struggling with that for a couple of minutes, I reluctantly agreed with my wife. So get ready for absolutely 0 laughs and 3 serious minutes about how great Dave Irwin once was. Or, as I currently call 0 laughs and serious talk about how great Dave Irwin once was, lunch with Dave Irwin. Our story begins in 1990, August of 1990. This is a story about a truly gifted football player showing up to the University of Guelph and this gifted player meeting Dave Irwin on the first day of rookie camp. Dave and I became fast friends, and this friendship was built on a mutual love of two things: football and vanilla ice. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask you all to please stop, collaborate, and listen to what I have to say about Dave. Dave quickly established himself as the best receiver in camp, so much so that during one-on-one drills, where we'd be going up against a defensive back much like myself, I learned to find out where he was in line, and if we were to be matched up, my shoelace would mysteriously undo, thereby causing another DB to take my turn. The veterans soon learned this trick once they joined us for two-a-days. It was during the red and gold inter-squad game on the last day of camp when everyone first saw the raw athleticism that would become Dave's trademark over his 4 years at Guelph. A 4-foot by 6-foot table that stood about 3 feet high was placed on the sidelines, and on that table there was roughly 200 cups filled with Gatorade that someone had painstakingly filled prior to the game. During the game, Irwin caught a slant, caught the ball near the sideline, hurdled that table in stride without spilling a drop of Gatorade. After the game was done, and after my family told me how average I had played, all they wanted to talk about was that skinny number 70 who jumped over that table. This then proceeded to be the case after every game that Dave and I played together. I clearly remember my parents brushing by me on their way to see Irwin. "Steve, way to block that guy on kickoff return. But Dave, 2 touchdowns, so amazing." And although Dave was skinny back then, he was fearless on the gridiron, which led him to dress for every game in our first year and contribute immediately to the success of the team. His toughness could not be questioned, as he played in every single game during his time at Guelph and never missed any time due to injury, which, considering his position and his willingness to go over the middle to make a play, is quite outstanding. As you can see in your programs, Dave really started to shine in our second year in 1991, but I think Dave would agree that 92 was his breakout year. Beating Western in the Yates Cup was almost surreal, and seeing Irwin fly through the end zone after scoring a touchdown is one of the favorite football memories of my life. Dave's career trajectory continued on its upward path in his last year as a Griffin, when he was named a first-team All-Canadian and was drafted by the Argos in the 4th round. As you can also see in your programs, phrases like team first, great teammate, and great person are used to describe Dave. Although he was clearly the star on the field, he was an even better teammate and friend. When our games were televised on CHCH, we would set our timers on our VCR, come home after the game, watch ourselves on a not-so-flat screen over a few beers. Irwin always made it a point to compliment the other 4 football players who lived in the house, even though we may have not have made the plays that determined the outcome of the game like he did. Humble and approachable are 2 words that describe Dave then and describe him now. So while writing this introduction, I realized how small of a role that the actual football games played in our lives. We played on average about 8 games a year. Each game lasts about 3 hours, so we literally spent our whole university lives preparing for 24 hours of football per year. When it's put that way, you realize as a student athlete that it's the time spent with our teammates like Dave Irwin, whether on the practice field, in the weight room, in the film room, the handball court, or at the bull ring, that made our time here at Guelph the amazing time that it was. I would like to thank Dave Irwin for making that such a great time in my life. Dave, I couldn't imagine my life without you then and now. So on that sappy note, please welcome up to the stage my teammate and my friend, Griffin Hall of Famer, number 70 in your program, but number 1 in your heart, Dave Irwin.
If only I had my phone up here right now, I would play Ice Ice Baby as I say the following. Inducted September 21st, 2018, athlete, Dave Irwin.
Thanks very much for that introduction, Bernsey. You were a big part of my university career and been a great friend since, so it means a lot to me to have you be a part of this ceremony. I'd like to start off by thanking the University of Guelph and the selection committee. I feel very humbled by this honor and was completely surprised when I was notified this summer. I'd also like to thank Jennifer Green for all of her hard work getting me organized for this weekend. Jen's tireless efforts have made the entire experience very professional and memorable for me and my family. I'd also like to congratulate the other inductees this evening on all of their achievements and success. I grew up in Belleville, Ontario, and most of my family still resides in that area today. I started playing football in grade 9 because my older brother played football. I think like most younger brothers, I wanted to be like him. And so even though I was probably about 125 pounds soaking wet at the time, I tried out for the team and made it. I thought I'd play defensive back, but the coach thought I should be the quarterback. I remember explaining to him that I didn't have a very good arm, and he said it didn't matter. We had a running back that was a once-in-a-decade talent, and my only job was to hand the ball off to him and get out of the way. I think they realized pretty quickly that it was more efficient if that running back just moved to quarterback and took the ball directly. I was moved to receiver and could have been happier to be further away from all the big bodies on the offensive and defensive lines. Lucky for me, it turns out that running back could also throw the ball a mile. His name was Steve Miller, and he became one of my best friends. He lives in Florida now, and although he tried his best to be here tonight, he wasn't able to join us. Everything I accomplished on the football field in high school wouldn't have been possible without him. For the next 4 years, he threw it as far as he could, and I ran as fast as I could to catch it. I played on a great team, and we won city championships each year, and finally the Greater Regional Championship in my last year. That success gave me the opportunity to visit a lot of universities to help decide which one I wanted to attend. I had decided to attend McMaster, but I still had a coach by the name of Pat Tracy from the University of Guelph that continued to invite me to come to Guelph for a visit. He was relentless. Pat was originally from just outside of Belleville and had been to many of my high school games. His persistence paid off, and I finally made the trip to Guelph one weekend in the spring of 1990 just to get him to stop calling my house. I instantly fell in love with the campus, and the football facilities were second to none. I quickly switched my commit to Guelph and headed to training camp that fall. My dad dropped me off on August 24th, 1990. I was the second player to arrive at training camp. The first was an American player named R.J. Torrios, who would end up being one of my roommates for 3 of the next 4 years. The friendships I made through football have been enduring. The amount of time and work you put in with a group of guys trying to accomplish a common goal naturally creates strong bonds. It also teaches you about putting aside your differences for the greater cause. Football taught me that it doesn't matter what your background or where you come from, you can develop relationships that can last a lifetime. I have very fond memories of my time at Guelph. The highlight of my 4 years was our 1992 Yates Cup victory. We certainly weren't the preseason favorite, and we just squeaked into the playoffs. But we managed to peak and come together at the right time. We had a great defense that year with not only talented players, but some great leaders. I hate to mention names at the risk of leaving others out, but our defense was anchored that year by Steve McKee and Mike O'Shea. Both were phenomenal talents, and they showed the rest of us every day what it meant to work hard and be a champion. The common theme that I think you typically hear during a speech like this is all the support you receive along the way. That it's not possible to maximize your potential and achieve results without others. I am no different. I've had a long list of teammates that contributed to my development through the years. I'd like to first thank a few players that came before me that played my position. They set the bar high and inspired me to try and become the best I could be. I believe all 3 of them are actually here tonight. I wore the number 70 at Guelph because of a gentleman named Perry Ceci. Perry wore number 70, and he was the MVP of the 1984 Vanier Cup, still the only football national championship in Guelph's history. My receivers coach in my first year at Guelph was Randy Walters, and he was the quarterback for that 1984 team. He impressed on me from day one that I should try to emulate Perry's game. I certainly tried. Dan Toker and Frank Maroff were 2 other receivers that I greatly respected. They mentored me and contributed to my development. I'd also like to thank every teammate that I played with during my time at Guelph. Thank you for your hard work, commitment, and friendship. In particular, I'd like to thank 2 of my teammates, Steve Burns and Scott Hislop. Not only for the camaraderie and fun we had at Guelph, but also for the 28 years of friendship we've had since. We've had a lot of great times over the years, and it's hard to believe that it all started 28 years ago on the football field at Guelph. I'd also like to thank my friends for joining me here tonight and this weekend. Thank you for your support and friendship over the years. This night is much more special for me having you here with me. Most importantly, I'd like to thank my family. For as long as I can remember, they've traveled to wherever they needed to just to be at my games. Tonight is no different. Once again, they made the trip to Guelph. My brother Rob and his wife Janet, my sister Kim and her husband Paul, celebrating their 33rd wedding anniversary today, and my sister Ginny and her husband Phil. I want you to know how much it always meant to me to see you in the stands. Win or lose, you're always there for me after games to provide context and perspective. My mom was the athlete of our family and helped to balance out the academic influence from my father, a high school principal. She was my biggest cheerleader, and I miss her every day. Today, I'm very lucky to have my beautiful wife, Kristen, and two amazing kids, Luke and Dara. They inspire me every day to do the best I can. Football was a big part of my life, and I have nothing but great memories. Those experiences and the lessons I learned are a big part of who I've become. Thank you again to the University of Guelph. I'm very appreciative of the honor. And again, congratulations to the other inductees. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Griffin Hall of Famer, Dave Irwin. To introduce our final inductee in the athlete category this evening, it is my pleasure to ask current head coach of the Griffins women's rugby team to the stage. Please welcome Hall of Famer herself, Colette McCauley.
I'm very pleased to be able to introduce JC Murphy for this evening. There is no way that my introduction would do this woman justice. It all started in the spring of 2007 when I got a phone call from an amazing woman named Shawn Murphy. She says to me, "Are you the head coach of the women's rugby team?" And having just taken over that year, I was like, "Yes, I am." Well, my daughter is being heavily recruited by Western, and they're offering her a scholarship. And in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, we offer scholarships? I'm supposed to be recruiting? Okay, so play it cool. She said, however, I want JC to go to Guelph. That's where her sisters are. It's very important that she goes to Guelph. And I'm thinking, I have no idea if we have money to offer. I said, so I'm not sure how much we have in our budget for incoming athletes, but I can offer her $500, thinking that I was going to come and pay her $500. And Shawn Murphy says, that's great, we'll take it. We'll have JC at training camp. Let me tell you, it would be the best $500 this athletic department ever spent, because this woman was extraordinary. She shows up at training camp, a potato farmer from Alliston, and was exceptional from day one. The way that woman carries a ball through everybody is unreal. She came in, was Rookie of the Year, voted by her team, as well as the Griffin Rookie of the Year. She was 2008 Tournament All-Star when we went to Nationals, 3-time CIS All-Canadian, 4-time OUA All-Star, 2-time Team MVP, 2-time OUA MVP, 2-time University of Guelph Female Athlete of the Year, and we all know how hard that is to steal from the track and field and cross-country teams. And she was also the 2-time CIS Player of the Year, as well as the nominee for the BLG Award, which is one of the biggest awards for athletes across Canada. So those are her individual accolades, which are tremendous. But she helped her teammates be better. And we had a great, luckily I didn't need to recruit in 2007 because I had 5 athletes show up that were just tremendous. And together, that group of athletes was unreal. probably made a mark on my coaching career, absolutely. But we won 4 OUA championships, 1 OUA bronze, and that was just the first year. We were just getting our feet wet. 4 CIS bronze medals. And after the 4th bronze medal, music to my ears when J.C. Murphy and Jane Kirby came up and said, "Oh, we're not done. We're coming back." I'm like, thank goodness. Because the next year, another provincial championship and our first, together, national championship. And it was such a tremendous experience. And all this J.C. did on a broken ankle. She was the epitome of toughness. I didn't know how bad it was, obviously, because she didn't say a word to me. She was mentally tough. She was physically tough. She never said anything to any of the coaches in 5 years, but just went about her business being the best that she was and just helped us win all the time. But that's not all. Her story is not done. So as much as she did for us as Griffins, the head coach of the national team comes up to me and says, "How can I get J.C. Murphy to come out west and be centralized?" I'm like, well, that's easy. You invite Jane Kirby and find work for her boyfriend Gavin, and she's yours. However, there's no way she would sever the ties of family, and so she did not go out to the west, which was lucky for me because as I moved into a role of assistant coach for the National 15s program, the same group of women were now playing national. So all of these accomplishments that she had in Guelph transferred to the national scene. She took the world stage of rugby by storm. 2 Nations Cup championships, and we've never won it before. I know, because I was playing in it in a decade. We finished the best ever in the 2014 World Cup with J.C. Murphy being the best back rower in that tournament, without a doubt. And she also, for the 2017 World Cup, was a tremendous, tremendous force from the back row. So I'm not sure about her highlight reel in her head, but my highlight reel for JC playing for Canada was when one of the fastest, most powerful rugby player today was using my poor back 3 as speed bumps. J.C. Murphy comes from nowhere, tracks her down, and slams her to the ground. So in my head, I'm on the sidelines going, "Take that, Portia." J.C. Murphy takes care of her own. So there's no way she was going to allow this woman just basically plow over her teammates without some retribution. It was the best moment of that World Cup for me. It was absolutely fantastic because J.C. loved to take care of her teammates on the field. She loved to bond with them off the field, so don't think that I don't know what Fat Tuesday was all about. But she was just a tremendous teammate. I would love to say that I contributed to her success, but all the years that I've coached her, I'm not actually sure I coached you anything. She was just a tremendously gifted athlete. What she was capable of doing with ball in hand was unbelievable. The only time that she ever let someone tackle her is if they had a number 15 on their back, because somehow she loved to run into every fullback that she came across. But she's just a wonderful athlete to watch. She's a wonderful person to be around, and it is my pleasure to introduce J.C. Murphy to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted September 21st, 2018, athlete J.C. Murphy Kresnik.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you to the university for this incredible honor. I'm truly humbled by the recognition. I also could not believe when I got the email this summer. I sent it to my best friend Jane, was like, I'm not sure if this is for real, but what is this? So truly humbled and just so pleased to be here. Congratulations to all the other inductees. It's a pleasure to be recognized alongside so many incredible athletes and teams, and to get to go up on the wall with them as well. As mentioned, when I was deciding on a university, it came down to Guelph and a certain purple-wearing rival, but in the end, the decision was fairly easy. I had a dad that had come to the University of Guelph and played on the football team, and two sisters that were here who were playing lacrosse. But beyond the familial connections, the university just felt like the perfect fit for me. It was warm and inviting, the people were wonderful, and it was not too big and not too small from someone from a small potato farm in Alliston. But I often wonder how different my life would be if I had made a different decision, because this school has given me a lot in life. Beyond my degree, it's given me a national championship, lifelong friendships, more memories than I can even count, and it's where I met my husband. So I'll always be thankful for all of this that the university has given me. I want to thank my coaches over the years, Dave, Mark Yanko, Joss, and Colette. Your dedication to the sport of rugby and your program is just incredible, and your energy and passion for it do not go unnoticed. Colette, a big thank you to you. Thank you for your belief in me. You've been nothing but supportive of me over the years. I was lucky to be coached by you for 5 years here, and then on the national team as well. She always had smart and simple feedback to give me about ways to improve my game, and just helped me grow immensely as a person and as a rugby player. So she's without a doubt, despite her not knowing it, one of the biggest contributors to my success on the rugby field, and just a great coach, mentor, and friend in life. So thank you very much, Colette. I also wanted to thank my teammates. I'm so lucky to have gotten a second family out of my time here at Guelph. Thank you for pushing me on and off the field, from full contact drills in abysmal, wet, rainy, cold, disgusting temperatures, to post-game chug-offs. You always challenged me to be my best, so thank you for that. To my family, my parents and my 4 siblings are here tonight, as they have always been, to every game, every tournament, every nationals, supporting me. They've flown all across the country and all over the world, most recently to Ireland last year for the World Cup to support me. So no nationals was too far, no temperature too low to stop them from coming to cheer me on. Not even a 4-hour flight across the country could stop my mother from bringing a 5-gallon air horn and truck air horn with her to nationals to make sure people could hear our team. So thank you for your endless support and thousands of post-game hugs that were much needed. And last but not least, thank you to my husband, who has also followed me across the country and the world, supporting me, and spent most weekends of my university career slogging across the 401 between Guelph and Ottawa. He graduated after I finished my first year, and despite thinking he was never going to do that drive again, he did it pretty much every weekend for the next 4 years. So thank you for that. And I love you so much. Thank you for being here. And 2 weeks ago, my husband and I welcomed a baby boy, our first child, into the world. And if his mother has anything to say about it, he's going to be a member of the class of 2040. So go, Griffins, go.
Thank you, JC. One more time, a round of applause for our final athlete inductee, JC Murphy Kresnik. That concludes our 4 athletes that we are inducting. We will now be honoring our builders. So I'd like to invite Dr. Franco Vaccarino to the stage to present the plaque to our inductees in the builder category. Before I introduce our first presenter, I'm just going to add something small. When I saw this name was being inducted tonight, I knew this was it was important for me to be here. There's really nothing better than the Hall of Fame banquet each year, but it made it a little more special tonight. you may or may not know this, but I didn't used to announce at the University of Guelph. I spent a decade announcing somewhere else. And in 2008, there was discussions of certain people in the athletic department to ask me to come here, and I was initially saying no. Eventually, I was convinced to say yes. And one of the people that was important, or was pretty central in bringing me here, was Tom Kendall. So 3 weeks ago, I had a 10th anniversary as the voice of the Griffins. So before we get to this next induction, I just want to look you in the eyes and say, thank you, Tom. Coming here was one of the best things I ever did. It is my pleasure right now to introduce Dr. Robby Keith, Griffin football and hockey alumnus and Hall of Fame member, to introduce our first builder. Please welcome Robby to the stage.
Thank you, Sean. It is a pleasure and indeed a distinct honor to be asked by Tom to say something about his accomplishments over the 11 years of his leadership on this campus. We met for coffee shortly after his arrival, and over those 11 years, there's been a lot of coffee go down the drain. And we've come to sort of understand each other in a variety of ways, which I will say a little bit about him tonight. There's a long list of things about which we can say of Tom as a builder. I'm going to focus on just a few things because I have been instructed to watch the clock. But I want to start with a few numbers and talk about some of the accomplishments in that perspective. Over the course of 11 years, our athletic director, Scott, has identified and told you about the number of provincial and national championships. Some of these, of course, are excuse me, are historic in nature, and indeed they come from Tom's constant conversations with his coaches and saying, go for it, I've got your back. Some builders are bricks and mortars people, and Tom was no exception. In fact, his arrival here was one which was the very beginning of a primary focus on developing a process and a plan to begin a multi-purpose athletic and events center. As good as it was, the Mitchell Center simply was bursting at the seams, unable to meet the needs and demands of a 20,000 plus student body. And 4 years into his time here, he had prepared, with the help of many stakeholders, a master plan for the Guelph Griffin Athletic Center. Tonight, we sit in that facility. Tom's vision of an athletic center was one of ever-increasing participation and use. Anyone and everyone, both from the campus and from off the campus. Fitness, good health, sport, and recreation form the basis of that particular vision. And with the opening of the center, activity and membership mushroomed. 1 year in, and membership and activity levels had increased 82%. That's almost doubling the level of activity. Until 2010, artificial turf was somewhere else, not at the University of Guelph. Could there have been some real grass Aggie reluctance here? I leave that for your own consideration. In 2010, the varsity field was built, the first all-weather playing surface on our campus, and immediately followed by the construction of the state-of-the-art soccer complex that, along with lighting, allows students, recreationalists, as well as serious varsity athletes to train under the very best of conditions. A year later, Alumni Stadium and Field underwent significant change. Artificial turf was built, an international Class 8 lane track surrounded it, lighting included, and it has become a major regional facility. And then in 2012, saw the opening of the Field House, an all-weather facility that gives varsity athletes and recreational counterparts warm field and track access right on campus in the cold and dark of our winters. And then the master plan in action. The groundbreaking ceremony for this center took place on November the 10th, 2014, with construction ramping up in the spring of 2015. And finally, very recently, a Facilities Merit Award for this particular center, a prestigious international designation, one of only 10 around the world in 2018. And so I ask myself, how does all of this happen? What makes it come together? Tom is a visionary with a sense of purpose and appreciation for the strength of inclusiveness in the processes he created to get us to where we are today. Many people doing many good things together. He understands the need to connect sport, recreation, fitness, and health in ways that link people together as genuine partners in building programs, in planning facilities, and in developing a spirit that is to come to be seen as a Griffin trademark. There are no silos for Tom, some key stakeholders for sure, but a place at the table for anyone who's willing to work hard and contribute. Excellence all around, best practices at every turn, experiment at the leading edges, our signature Tom Kendall points of view. And to go with that, a you fix it philosophy, coupled with you're a professional, just go and do it. And by the way, I have your back. And one more, Kendallism, as I call it, and a good one. Don't forget your family needs you. Just about now, I think I could imagine Tom picking up his pencil and banging it on the table and saying, I think this meeting has about come close to the end. So I will wrap up with just this. Tom, you envisioned, you designed, you herded the hesitators, you built a strong and committed student contingent, you fostered trust among stakeholders, you gave both hope and promise to those seeking a healthy lifestyle, you challenged coaches and athletes alike, you drew donors to the cause, you cajoled contractors, administrators, architects, all the while holding everyone to a higher standard of excellence. For all this and more, we're grateful for your service, and tonight we collectively say thank you. Please join me in welcoming to the Hall of Fame stage, Tom Kendall.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted September 21st, 2018, builder, Tom Kendall.
Thank you, Robby. And Sean, thank you also. This is nice. Whose idea was this? Am I safe here? Because the guy that installed it has sat at my table and I'm not sure. If it starts to move, please let me know. I'd like to congratulate all of those who are joining me as inductees tonight. We are joining an exclusive group of people who have, through their actions, enhanced the reputation and brand of the University of Guelph. On this occasion, I must remember and acknowledge a Hall of Fame member and a great friend, Tom Heslip, who passed away earlier this year. I'd also like to thank friends and family for joining me this evening. Your presence makes this celebration much more meaningful. I'm honored to be chosen as an inductee into the Griffin Hall of Fame, but I'm also mindful of the fact that successes attributed to me must be shared with so many other people. My success was made possible by the efforts of committed students, dedicated staff, and loyal alumni. When I think about my time here, probably the most difficult part of the 11 years was actually getting the job. There were a number of interviews, which I didn't understand. I mean, one meeting with me, wouldn't you want to hire me immediately? Now, the first interview was the most memorable. I've worked at 5 different universities, so I'm pretty familiar with interviews. And usually on an interview panel, there'll be 5, maybe 6 people. So to my surprise, I walk into my first interview, and there's 20+ people around the table. Now, it was more like a tribunal than it was an interview. And so I wasn't sure whether to tell the truth or take the fifth. But it worked out, and after a while, they decided that maybe they could hire me and bring me here to the University of Guelph. And I was excited. When I got the job, I was excited to come here. And so I was excited to meet my new colleagues and get to know people and bring them into the family and get them motivated. So 1 week after accepting the job, I got a call from a friend who told me that I'd last 6 months at Guelph. So I worked hard to get the job, and now I'm being told I'll last 6 months. And he said, "You'll last 6 months because you like to win too much." Now, it is true that I like to win at everything. You know, I don't like to lose an argument. So it is true that I like to do that. And if you want to know to what extent, you can ask any coach who they would avoid on Monday morning if they lost on the weekend. Right, Cal? So the only coach that I really wanted to see after a loss, and it didn't happen very often, was Colette McCauley. Now, I wanted to see her after a loss because it was really entertaining and X-rated. She likes to lose less than I do, and that's saying a lot. But Colette and I had some good meetings, and what she said earlier is true, by the way. She had no frickin' clue whether she had money to give to athletes. And she'd come after the fact. She'd give them money and then ask me if there was any, which is you know the way coaches should work. I arrived on July 17th, 2004. I'd been coming into the office about a week and a half, and I noticed that very few people were in the building. I went to Janice McPherson, who was my admin assistant at the time, and I asked her where everyone was. She gave me one of those looks, which I interpreted to mean, "Tom, it's summer. Nobody comes in the summer." I knew at that point we had lots of work to do. A little while later, I'm explaining to Janice my philosophy about staff development. and how I like staff to learn new skills. She looked at me and said, "I don't really want to learn any new skills, Tom. I'm too old for that stuff." So at that point, I knew who was in charge, and it sure as hell wasn't me. When my wife Gail and I arrived, it was clear to us that the University of Guelph athletics, recreation, and fitness facilities were amongst the worst in the province, with the exception of probably the Twin Pad Arena. I remember walking through the fitness facility and seeing a piece of Nautilus equipment that belonged in a museum rather than a university fitness facility. It was ancient. There were no artificial fields, and so by October of each year, all of the grass was gone and teams were playing on mud. The Mitchell Center was an extremely old and not really functional building. Varsity teams were not really competitive, and the Griffin brand was not strong in the community. There were no athletic scholarships. Now, I just come from the States and from St. Yves, and I come here, and it's one of only 3 schools in the country not giving scholarships. So that was a challenge. And there was very little fundraising going on, with the exception of football. Most distressing of all, however, was my perception that students were not being served in a way that they should be for a university of this size. And that's what motivated me. Something had to change. The culture had to change to one where everyone was committed to excellence. Somehow, we had to generate revenue streams that enabled us to build state-of-the-art facilities and first-class programs without government or university help. At the time, I was advised that I should divide the financial pie more equitably within the department. I was not comfortable with this, and I chose to make the pie bigger. As it turns out, much bigger. I will take credit for the vision to develop excellence in everything we did, to build great facilities and programs, and for the overall plan to generate revenue. But execution of the plan happened because of so many other committed people. None of the infrastructure successes would have happened without the courage of the students who embraced the vision and successfully administered a referendum in which they committed to an annual capital fee which would raise over $80 million over a 30-year period. They are the heroes here, and all credit must go to them. When I arrived, I met with Alistair Summerlee, the president at the time, and he encouraged me to be bold in my vision. My experience convinces me that no university program can be successful unless it has the support of the president. This is particularly true of athletics. Despite throwing me under the bus a few times during my 11 years here, Alistair was generally supportive of what I was trying to do. When I arrived, a number of people told me that I should meet with Larry Pearson. I remember my first meeting with Larry at Griff's restaurant. I explained my vision for the department. He listened intently, and then he basically told me that he had heard this before from other people and he didn't really believe me. I felt I had to prove myself. 18 months later, Larry walked into my office unsolicited and offered to donate $1 million to start the fundraising campaign for a new building. Larry has continued to show his commitment and generosity with further donations to the renovations of the Mitchell Center and the scholarship program. He has stepped up to the plate in so many ways, and I have benefited from his advice and friendship over the years. Many more alumni have donated to the department's program and facilities, including $500,000 from the Alumni Association. I thank my wife, Gail, who convinced a number of people to open their wallets and make a financial commitment. For those in the room that know her, you will agree that she can be very persuasive. And by the way, there's a couple of people in the room that made a pledge when she was fundraising, and she found out tonight, so she'll probably be talking to you before you leave tonight. We had just lost a great coach. When I arrived in 2014, The football program was mediocre at best. As the years moved along, it was clear that without a significant increase in resources, the program's future was in jeopardy. We had just lost a great coach in Carl Walters, who moved on to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And we got an offer from Stu Lang to take over the coaching role. The rest, as they say, is history. With Stu's time and financial commitment, the football program is now a perennial contender in the OUA. Now, it's well known that Stu and I had disagreements about helmets, uniforms, but it was always entertaining when I showed up for a game to see what he had done that would surprise everybody, including me. And Stu didn't much like the policies that I had to enforce in the department. But he and I agreed on a couple of things. We agreed that we wanted a football program that would succeed. He and I also shared a lot of literature, a lot of books on success, and we both have that passion. Stu made life interesting for me, but in hindsight, I wouldn't have changed a moment of it. I believe this university owes Stu a debt of gratitude for his leadership in improving the team and in providing a significant upgrade to the stadium and the football training facilities. In my opinion, he saved the program. What happened here during my tenure is a result of a team effort and a culture where everyone felt that they were stakeholders in a compelling vision for the future. This was a culture of commitment. People have been very kind to me and attributed many successes to my leadership. For me, leadership is about surrounding yourself with good people, providing them with resources, allowing them to do their job, and developing trust so they are free to be ambitious. How could I possibly fail with people like Sarah Mao, Dave Easter, Bill Clausen, Angela Orton, Linda Melnick, Karen Lee, Lynn Skilton-Hayes, Michelle Pino, Sky Angus, Janice McPherson, Betty Forrestal, Dave Trudell, Frank Kane, Michelle Turley, Andrew Goddard, Beth Fisher, Jen Green, and all of the coaches. We had an exceptional culture with committed people. Give you an example of commitment. For 11 years, I would come into the building at my usual arrival time at 8 a.m. Every day, without fail, I was greeted with a positive good morning from Tabitha Rossini at the client service desk. Now, Tabitha was opening the building at 6:30 every morning, and that probably meant she was getting up at 5:15. She had lots of reasons not to be cheery, but she always was. I never told her this, but she was like my first cup of coffee in the morning, a necessity to start my day. Life was so much better because of her. These are special people who were able to produce great things for the department despite having to deal with my flaws. You know, the fact that I could make a decision on Monday and then change it on Wednesday. Okay, so I'm creative. What's the big deal? Also, my sarcasm, which I thought was funny, but apparently a lot of people didn't get. Or my obsession with being on time, which, if you arrived late for a meeting, you realized was important to me. And my dislike for facial hair on coaches. Cal, again, okay? So after I retired, I grew facial hair. I shaved it off yesterday just so I could make this joke. And I see now that your athletic director is sporting a beard. No standards. Yeah. We did some good things for our students and our community, and we had some fun along the way. Finally, I want to thank my family and friends, to my lovely wife who followed me around North America for the last 30 years so that I could follow my dreams. Now, we moved around North America so that I could change jobs and follow my dreams. She changed careers 5 times. My darling wife is so much more talented than I am. She was executive director of a sport governing body. She was a sports psychologist to national team athletes. She was a full-time coach of an NC2A basketball program. She managed fitness facilities at both Wise and universities, and she was an exceptional fundraiser here at Guelph. To my children, my 3 children who have always been an inspiration to me, Becky is here tonight, and we are grateful that she received a great education at the University of Guelph and recently graduated from OVC, one of the top 3 vet schools in the world. Family is not only those that share my DNA. Family is anyone that I care about and who cares about me. 2 of my former athletes from the University of Winnipeg and California University of Pennsylvania have been daughters to Gail and I for over 20 years. Nicole and her husband Scott and Heather have traveled here from Pennsylvania for this celebration. I can tell you this speech would have been much more entertaining if they would have been allowed to come up here and tell Tom Kendall stories, only some of which would have been true. I love you all. I'm happy and grateful to accept this award, but I would like to dedicate it to the amazing staff who work so hard to make so many good things happen. To all of you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted September 21st, 2018, builder Tom Kendall. Introducing our second builder this evening, I would like to call up to the stage our current head coach from our men's volleyball team. Please welcome Cal Wigston.
Tom, you and I will talk later. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the distinct honor and privilege to introduce you to my friend, Larry Pearson. Before I do this, I would like to take a moment to introduce you to his beautiful wife, Joy, Joy's children, Jamie and Eric, and their partners, Adam and Samantha. I would also like to introduce you to Larry's son, Sean, his 2 sons, his 2 grandsons, Jason and Reuben. Unfortunately, Sean's wife, Alicia, and his youngest son, James, could not make it tonight. A mutual friend of mine and Larry's, John McCauley, defines a leader as someone who looks at the world and says it doesn't have to be this way and does something about it. To me, Larry Pearson embodies that definition. I've known Larry for 18 years, and in those 18 years, Larry has shown me what it takes to be a world-class coach, contributor, and mentor. Larry has had a significant impact as a coach in the community and has brought that winning attitude to the Griffins. His numerous medals and championships prove this man knows how to coach. Larry has spent most of his time coaching his 2 passions, baseball and volleyball. Outside of the university setting, LP has coached many high-performing teams to success provincially and nationally. Some of his accomplishments as a coach in the baseball community include leading the Guelph Midget All-Star team to a national championship while coaching his son, leading many baseball teams to inter-county championships as well as provincial championships. After watching his son Sean compete at the national level, Larry decided to help coach with our national team program, helping develop young talent across the country. In his time with the national program, he has seen many of his players make it to the big leagues. To this day, Larry still takes time out in the spring and the summer to travel to coach at that national level. As a Griffin, Larry has made a significant impact with the men's volleyball program. He has consistently shown he knows how to bring out talent in players. Tonight, we'll have the honor to induct Larry's team from 1977. That team won the school's only OUA volleyball title that year, and then moved on to capture a bronze medal in a league dominated by Western Canada. The Young Griffins won the bronze that year in the CIAU Championship. With his current team that he coaches with me, Larry has been able to help guide our men's volleyball program to 3 Final Four appearances and 2 medals. LP knows how to coach. As a contributor, Larry's an outstanding contributor to the community and Guelph Griffin athletics. In the community, Larry has made many contributions to many different organizations that are committed to helping people bring the best out of others. Some of the things he has done is he's brought the Smile Zone to Guelph General Hospital, built the Larry Pearson Baseball Park in the south end of Guelph. He has supported hospital wings at Guelph General and St. Joe's Hospital, as well as a hospice center, bringing comfort to those in their last days. He has helped build Cadence, an alternative program to help kids succeed in high school and life. These are just a few of the projects that Larry has supported in his time in Guelph. Within Griffin Athletics, Larry has contributed his time and money. After some time away from the university, Larry decided it was time to give back to his school. In the 90s, Larry provided seed money to help build the High Performance Center at the university and gifted funds to help purchase state-of-the-art equipment to help our university athletes recover quickly from injuries. After seeing the need to upgrade our facilities, Larry worked with Kendall to help petition the university for a new athletic center. When it was decided that that was time to build that new center, Larry was the first in line to contribute to his school. Larry's generous donation helped kickstart the building campaign. Along with his donation to the building campaign, Larry also made a significant contribution to funding of athletic scholarships. When it comes to the University of Guelph, one only needs to walk around the campus and athletic center to appreciate his contribution. The Pearson Garden behind the athletic center, the amazing new scoreboard, the incredible volleyball team room, as well as the Larry Pearson entrance. Larry is a world-class contributor. I believe the greatest contributions Larry has made to this university has been with his time and effort in mentoring and building into people. Larry has not only given generously with his money, he has given above and beyond with his time to mentor athletes and coaches, often foregoing time at his home in Florida during the winter to be home with his boys. In 2005, I approached Larry and asked him to help me rebuild the men's volleyball program at the university. I asked Larry to play the role of mentor and coach for the boys as well as the coaches. I'm not quite fully sure, or I knew what I was getting into, as Larry immediately began to put his stamp on the team, teaching athletes and coaches about accountability, self-discipline, time management, and what it took to be a champion. In my time as head coach, I've witnessed Larry tear a strip off an athlete, as well as myself, and build them right back up, making him feel like he was capable of anything. I've seen Larry console athletes as they dealt with an injury, illness, or family issues. I've witnessed Larry stick up for players off the court, as well as back me up when I had struggled. Larry has taught me how to coach with class and dignity. He has spent many nights on the phone with me, coaching me on how to handle a loss or what we need to do to ensure a win. Larry taught me about accountability and what it means to be a high-performance coach. Larry also taught me how to lead by principles and not by feelings, understanding how to get the best out of players on and off the floor. Larry has been and still is a great mentor to athletes and coaches. These are reasons why I believe Larry is a world-class coach, contributor, and mentor. Sorry. Larry, I cannot begin to thank you enough for the many contributions you have made to the community of Guelph, the university, and to the many lives you have touched. You have not only given your money, more importantly, you have given your time. I'm sure I speak for the many athletes you've touched over the years by simply saying thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend and mentor, Larry Pearson.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted September 21st, 2018, builder Larry Pearson.
Thank you, Sean. Just a special thank you to Sean, who is the voice of the Kitchener Rangers. And the Kitchener Rangers opened their OHL season tonight. And Sean, it's special for you to be here tonight with us. I know both Tom and I really appreciate that. Thank you, Cal. We're great friends. Great friends, wonderful memories and wonderful words, and we still got work to do. Fair enough. This is a very special night for me, and I hope my scoreboard doesn't fall down on me, actually. I'd blame you, Kendall, because you started that whole thought process. It's a very humbling night, as you've already heard from some of the other athletes, and a very special moment, obviously, for me. I'd like to congratulate all the other inductees. It's a pleasure and an honor for me to be joined with you in being inducted tonight. To the athletes that we've already heard, thank you for your dedication, for your pursuit of excellence that helps make this university the best in the country. To my friend Tom, very fitting that you and I are here together tonight. We were through some tough times. Your vision, your perseverance, and maybe my continuing bantering of you and Alistair and everybody else on the fourth floor to try to get on with this, helped us get here. It was no easy task. Let me tell you, this has been going on for quite some time. I think I walked into your office just before an athletic banquet in 2007 with that leadership donation. And we moved into this. It took us 10 years to figure it out. That's a long time. You can turn a lawful big boat in a short harbor in less time than that. But we got it done. Here we are. To the teams that are going to be inducted a little bit later, one of which I'm proud to say is one of mine, thank you for what you've done. Thank you for holding up the tradition, creating the history that will allow our other Griffin athletes to look back and be proud of what this school means. I want to thank Cal. I know it was difficult for you to get through that. We're very good friends. We care for each other. That's who Cal is. Cal cares for people. We care for our players. And that's what makes this very special. I also want to thank Scott McRoberts, Wally Gabler, the entire University of Guelph athletics group for allowing me to share in this honor. Scott and Wally are doing great things here. They are looking after our athletes. They're pursuing excellence. They're giving our athletes what they need to succeed. And that's a very important thing from an administration perspective. A quick shout out to Jennifer. Funny story. So, whatever it was, months ago, I hear that I'm being inducted. There's this dinner. Okay, that's cool. And the dinner is going to be a formal event. Okay, fair enough. Formal event, business attire, that's great. And the dinner's being held in the athletic center. What? Wait, what? The athletic center. Look at this place. Jennifer, absolute fantastic the way you've turned a volleyball court, basketball court into this spectacular area for our wonderful dining experience. Congratulations and thank you for that. Cal has already thanked or introduced my family and friends that are here, and I want to articulate that as well. Thank you, Joy, my beautiful wife, for your support and understanding over the years. I spend a lot of time here. She's been my rock. She's been there when I come home after grumbling with Kendall over why the hell can't we get this thing going, and kicking some tires and walking into some walls trying to figure out what's going on. Thank you to my son Sean, my grandsons, for being here. It's special that you're here. I know Alicia and James in Florida are here in spirit. Thank you to Joy's family, Jamie and Adam and Eric and Sam for being here. It's special, as Tom has said, it's special for a family to be here to share these things with you. And thank you to my friends that are here. We've got a very close-knit group of friends here in the city. We're a competitive group of friends. We compete in the annual Pearson Summer Olympics and Winter Olympics, and we have a lot of fun with that, and it's a great group of people. But thank you for being here. It means a lot to us. I want to thank all the athletes and staff and coaches for this university over the years. I've been involved with this school for a long, long time, and it's those people that keep me coming back. There's something special about this school. We used to always say this is the great university out in the country that you can be part of, and it has a campus that gives you that feeling. It's just a wonderful place. And, you know, those people, you energize me every September. The energy that this campus has in September with new athletes, the student athletes getting started and getting into a new season. And every April, I leave here scratching my head wondering what the hell just happened and how are we going to fix that next year. But that's part of the deal. That continues to happen year after year. The excitement of the new group and boy, oh boy, what are we going to do to get better next year? There are three people that I want to thank that are not with us tonight, unfortunately. My mom and dad, who were responsible for introducing me to this fine school. Back when I was a child, this was the OAC and OVC, and I was a youngster, and they introduced me to this campus. I also wanted to give a shout out to my youngest son, Jason, who we lost 17 years ago, I'm sorry, at the tender age of 21. He spent a lot of time in this school. We have his scoreboard, memorial scoreboard in the other gym, and I know he would love this event, and I know he's looking down with a big smile on his face this evening. It's fair to say that sports played an unusually large role in my life over the course of my lifetime to now, and will continue to do so. Someone once said that life works in mysterious ways, and I think my circumstance is one just like that. With my mom and dad's introduction to this school, I was here as a 5-year-old, running around Johnson Green, playing with snow sculptures back in the day as part of College Royal. That was a huge event here at this school back in the 1950s. I learned how to skate here as a 7-year-old in what's now the West Gym. That was an arena. Frank Kane, you'll remember this. Bill Clausen, you'll remember this. It's just a barn. It was freezing cold. But as a 7-year-old kid, I learned how to skate pushing a chair around the ice. It was where I went as a kid. This was my playground up here. I'd walk through barns with cows and pigs. I was in the bull ring when there was actually real bulls in there, which, if you didn't know that, that's why it was called that. It was a show place for bulls. There were barns all up and down here. In fact, I think Rosansky Hall, that building, used to be a barn. The Alumni Hall is a barn. This was an Aggie and vet school. It was a great place for a kid to run around and learn about animals. As a young mid-school, grade school, high school boy, I was here again. I was here for track meets. I was here for summer camps. I was here for basketball and volleyball championships. District 10 was held here, still held here, and I hope that tradition never goes away, as my good friend Rob Conroy still coaches here. And it's a big deal for a high school basketball or volleyball player or track person to come on this campus and compete for his school for a championship. And it's a great opportunity for coaches to do recruiting in your own backyard. So I hope that that never ends. As I moved on with my career, I never left this school. I never left this school, not for a minute. In high school, I was a hurdler. I was a decent hurdler. Competed up here in my high school days and was introduced to a state-of-the-art black cinder nasty track one year when I hit the last hurdle. As great as that cinder track is to run on, as the track people might remember, is no fun to land on. It leaves a mark, and I have a mark. As a student athlete at Guelph, when I was here in the early 70s, I spent a lot of time in the gym. I played JV basketball with Garney Henley and Dick Brown, were coaching, and I played varsity volleyball in the small gym. Volleyball was always sort of at the back of the bus in those days. That really pretty gym that's got that nice sport court on it now used to be the small gym at the back of the Mitchell Center, and that's where we played volleyball back in the 70s. It wasn't glitzy, it wasn't flashy, but we played, we had fun, we were competitive, and we were pretty decent. I was back in that same West gym as a curler. Some of you probably don't even know that maybe that was a rink, but that little dance studio where Cal and Paul Funk's volleyball offices are, that was a two-sheet curling rink. And so I curled here, and we actually won an OCA championship back in those years, curling for the University of Guelph. And my good friend Frank Kane, who's here, actually discovered by accident the curling rocks from those curling sheets are under a stairwell in the back corner of the West Gym. I actually took my grandsons over there and showed them where Grandpa learned to skate. And as it turned out, a few years later, where my son Sean and his brother Jason learned to play hockey through the Stanley Stick organization, which was run up here in that rink in the early 1980s. So I never left here. This was always where I came to. Shortly after graduating from here, I was back in 3 years, I guess, coaching volleyball again. I had had a year or so working in Toronto, and I came back to Guelph with another position, and it was time to come back and coach, and that team is being honored here as well. I lasted for a few years, and then my real job had to kick in. I started to work at Linamar, and then was away from here for a period of time, but not long because I was involved as the Lieutenant Governor's selection to be on the Board of Governors here. Actually, was here for 2 terms, Lincoln Alexander's appointment to that board. And that helped me understand the school from a different perspective, from an administrative perspective, and how things worked and how things were put together. And for me, I always wanted to know, how do I make sure that athletics fits in here somehow? Because that was always a trick. It's always been a trick. It's trying to find the right balance and trying to make sure that athletics and sport gets its due. I'm a big believer and have always been a large advocate that sports and athletics is the glue that sticks all this other stuff together. It teaches our young athletes at any age so many of life's lessons that you're going to need down the road, and that was actually mentioned tonight earlier as well. It teaches you about time management. It teaches you about accountability and responsibility. It teaches you how to work with a team with a common goal. But for me, the most important one always has been, it teaches you how to deal with failure. We're going to lose. In sports, you're going to lose a match. You're going to lose a game. But if I can teach you as a player how to deal with that loss when you're at your career, when you lose a purchase order, you lose a friend, you might lose a job, you lose a contract. There's a right way and a wrong way of dealing with that. And if you learn how to deal with it positively, if you learn how to pick yourself up and let's get them next time, then that life skill is going to last you forever. And you'll always be able to look back on it based on your athletic career. Because we teach you as coaches how to deal with that failure. After I retired from Linamar, I came back here again, as Cal had mentioned, came back to do what I love to do, and that's coach. I do a lot of baseball things that takes up time at different times of the year, and I travel a lot with that. But my heart is always here. And we're still trying to sort this volleyball program out. We now have the facility. We're recruiting the players. But I'm doing what I love to do with Cal, and I think we're getting there. We just need to continue to do the right thing at the right time with our young student athletes to put them up for success. Now I'm back on campus in the summer and at different times of the year as a grandpa. So I was here as a kid, I was here as a dad, now I'm here as a grandpa. These young fellas down here, they're at summer camps. They're playing hockey in the rinks across the street. And Ruben's playing football out here. So the evolution is gradually completing itself. I've never left here through the entire stages of my life as a person, as a dad, and now as a grandpa, and hopefully that will continue for quite some time. The university is such a big part of my life and has been for over 60 years. That's a shuddering number when I say it out loud. It looks a lot better on paper, but it's the reality. This school means the world to me, and that makes tonight even more special, and to be able to share it with all of you. Let me conclude this way. This is my town. This is my university, and thanks to you and this award, this is my home. Thank you.
One more round of applause, please, for LP Larry Pearson. And finally, for our inductions this evening, we are going to be moving to our team category, where we will be honoring 2 teams. Please welcome Dr. Carrie Chassels to the stage to present the pins to our teams. Introducing our first team this evening, I would like to once again ask head coach Dave Scott Thomas back up to the stage.
Wally, I'm back. Larry, that was awesome. Those are powerful words. You know, with teams, you often have aphorisms, and they're unique to your team. And ours back in 2003 and onward, we'd often say before a competition, whether we win or lose today, sun's coming up tomorrow, mother still loves you, we're going to go to Dairy Queen. And once in a while, an introspective analytical athlete, one of which is going to speak to you in about 3 minutes, would look at me and say, but coach, you never take us to Dairy Queen. And I would say, yeah, it's not really a metaphor, it's just a lie. And Larry, you like them to learn failure. I like them to learn loss and faulty expectations. But in 2003, we brought in a very young squad. Our team had normalized as a podium class team, and then we had a little gap year going on. And we brought in a whole pile of rookies. We knew they were really talented and focused. We marched through the season. We went to the OU championships. Cross country's national championship is open. That means anybody can go. I disagree with it. It's a stupid rule, but anybody can go. But at Guelph, we've always had a higher standard, and we had to finish first or second. And we finished third that year. So we were a little bummed out. Real young squad. We were in Toronto. We drove back, and I remember driving this van and looking at all these big, brown, sad eyes in the rearview mirror, and we pulled into Dairy Queen. And we pulled into Dairy Queen, and I said, oh, man, I'm going to go make a case for you. And I went and met our director and our intercollegiate coordinator, Ange, who's here, and said, if you fund us out to Moncton, this team will win a national title, I think next year. And the response initially was tepid. To Ange's credit, she thought about it, came and found me and said, let's do it. And we went to Moncton that year and finished 6th, which is pretty good for a young squad. 2004, we'd evolved. We were older, we were stronger, we were more experienced, and we brought back an all-Canadian athlete, Christina Robby, who would go on to win the national championship here in Guelph that year. So we were loaded. We came to our meet here trying to become the first team in CIS history to win at home in cross country. We finished second. And we finished second to a team we suspected and later found out to be true was running an ineligible athlete, which would have made the difference. And that day also, we had a visiting coach whom I knew, a club coach, who had a heart attack and passed away at the meet. It was tragic. That's my memory of 2004. Just this emotional roller coaster, a really, really tough experience. And I don't say that to you to bring you down on a Friday night. I say that to set up the next season, and you know what happened because you can read it, and that's why the team is here. And Laura Moulton's going to come up with the team and talk about the 2005 season in a moment. I think why that's important, and I think it ties into what Larry was saying, is we celebrate events here, and the events are generally positive. And I love it. I mean, it's a great feeling. But we learn more through our adversity. We really do. I know that when you get knocked down and you get back up, you're evolving. I know that when you feel uncomfortable, you're probably doing something right. And when these women come up here in a couple of minutes, so get ready, ladies, I want you to remember that we're not just celebrating a successful event in 2005 in Halifax. And I debate the causality of all of these things. I don't think things necessarily cause the next things to happen, but I know you only develop a history through events happening. I know that you can't win 12 titles in a row without winning the first one. So when these women come up here, maybe have a little sense of their history, what they went through. It sure as hell wasn't easy, but they pulled it off and they started some immense and amazing things here. And ladies, you still all look pretty fit, so maybe I'll leave it with this. Bus leaves tomorrow, 6:45 a.m. I got the Spike Kit. Come on down to Western, and maybe we'll even go to Dairy Queen again on the way back home. Yeah. Okay, they're going to come up on stage now, and you can hold your applause. We're going to just roll everybody up here at once, and then once the team's up here, you can applaud. So it's my pleasure to bring up to the stage Christine Gibb, Diana Ashraf-Hosseini, Donna Verge, Liz Forbes, Erin Sass, Glynis Parrott. Start coming up, girls. Jackie Gauthier, Jen McCallum, Jenny Vanas, Julia Banusis, Kate Henderson, Kate Stewart, Kim Volterman, Laura Hutchinson, MC Stewart, Michelle Basuroy, Natalie Humphrey, Rachel O'Reilly, Chantel Novak, Viva Yeager, and coaches Ali Salfai and Jeff Haller. That's the 2005 Women's National Cross Country Championship team.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted September 21st, 2018, the 2005-2006 Women's Cross Country Team. I'd like to invite team captain Laura Hutchinson to come forward and say a few words on behalf of the team.
All right, thank you, Dave, for the intro, and thank you to Dave and to Jeff Haller and Ali Selfie for your coaching, your guidance, and your belief in us that year. And I have to say a special thank you to my brother, Chris Moulton, who, despite being McMaster's head coach that year, was 100% Griffin that day, as I recall. I feel so fortunate to be standing up here with such an amazing group of women and to have such a great excuse for this wonderful reunion. My teammates traveled in from all over. Some of us are local, but some came quite a far distance, and I think the Dairy Queen cake has to go to Erin Sask, who flew from Singapore for a crazy 3-day reunion, which is pretty impressive. So, as Dave set up, 2005 was a pretty awesome year to be a Griffin cross-country runner. As Dave said, 2004 was a tough loss, and I remember us feeling pretty down and out after the results of that, but we came away hungry. And we lost some key teammates. Christina Rohde had finished her eligibility at that point, but we got some new blood in, and as vets, we were getting older and stronger and faster. So 2005 dawned with a group of focused women who are ready to take on the CIS. We won OUs, and we were amongst the favorite going into CIs 2 weeks later. But what fun is sport without a little bit of drama? So OUs that year was the time change, which probably seems like a fairly innocuous little detail, but what that meant was that practice now ended at dusk. And we weren't the most coordinated team. Runners know how to run fast in a straight line. You add obstacles, we get in trouble. As Larry Pearson mentioned, you know, you can land on things and you get in trouble. Anyways, so 2 days after our use, Monday night practice, we've been out doing some tempo over on Possum Ridge and some of the trails. We're running back through Boy Scout. In the dwindling light, I step on a rock, I sprain my ankle. 2 days later, we're at Turfgrass Institute finishing up hills, and Julia, one of my teammates, goes over on her ankle. Come to Friday practice, we make it through, no casualties. Things are looking up. And then we hit Sunday long run, and Erin goes over on her ankle. So for those of you that don't know cross country, your team score is determined by the cumulative score of your top 5 runners. So that was 3 of our top 5 runners down and out a week before CIs. Thankfully, none of our sprains were too severe, and we headed off to Halifax with our ankles taped and our fingers crossed. I remember getting there Saturday morning, waking up and feeling so nervous. We knew that if we ran to our potential, that we could win a team title that day, but we didn't know how well our battered team was going to do. And that knowledge that you can accomplish something if you just go out and do your very best, it can be terrifying. The pressures, the expectation, knowing that we had failed to come out how we wanted to the year before led to a whole bundle of nerves. So we headed off to the course, and there were Griffins everywhere. 4 carfuls of our teammates had driven from Guelph to Halifax to cheer us on. They had even gotten the Griffin mascot outfit, which one of our teammates, Seamus, wore all day long. We had more fans there than St. FX did, and St. FX was just up the road. So that knowledge that our teammates had just driven 18 hours just to support us, and their enthusiasm was just the perfect boost. Now, I won't lie, it was ugly. It was not our best race. Julia, one of my teammates who's agreed I can tell you this, she was one of us that sprained her ankle, and she was in all-Canadian shape. She was in fantastic shape. She was an OU All-Star only 2 weeks prior, and she toughed it out to a 39th place finish, which all-Canadian and cross-country's top 14. Her ankle was taped all the way up to her knee. We had a lot of tough races within that race, but luck was on our side. And Calgary Dinos, they were our main competition that year, and they had a much worse race. So while it wasn't pretty, it turned out that it was enough for a title. And Dave used to tell us that anyone can have a great race on a good day. It's a true athlete that can have a good race on a bad day. And that's what 2005 CIs was for us. That day for me captured what it was to be a Griffin, giving it your best for a common goal in imperfect circumstances, driven on by the support and enthusiasm of your teammates, and of course, coming out on top. Little did we know at that time that that would be the start of the longest winning streak in CIS history. For 11 years after that, every Griffin women's cross-country team came home with gold. Some years it was pretty, some years it wasn't, but it was enough that they got the job done. That experience in sport, as many people up here have said, has taught us so much. It's taught us focus, dedication, perseverance, time management skills, leadership skills. And I think it has to be mentioned that that was such an important time in our lives, but even more importantly, that has what's helped us shape us into the professionals that we are today. Amongst my teammates were teachers, were profs, were healthcare professionals, scientists, executives, and lifelong friends. We've had people fly in, as I mentioned, from Singapore, from Saskatchewan, California, Arizona, leaving families to come for this weekend reunion. And it's been a wonderful opportunity to catch up and to revisit what an exciting year that was. These women understand me better than most people do in this world, and I think that's truly a part of being a team and one of the greatest parts about athletics. Thank you for bringing us back to relive that exciting year and our time as Griffins. And a special thank you to the athletics department, to Jennifer Green, and to everyone for all the work they put in to make tonight happen.
Thanks, Laura. Once again, congratulations to the whole team. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2005-2006 Women's Cross Country team. Our second team to be inducted and our final inductees of the evening are up next. I'd like to invite LP back up to the stage to introduce our final team going into the Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Sean. Well, as these guys know, and I'm about to tell you, it wouldn't be the first time that this group of guys has closed down an event. Obviously, this is a very special night for me personally to be inducted as a builder and now with this team. 1977 is a long time ago. It's hard to believe that we haven't actually seen each other, many of us, in 40 years. And I understand that several of these players haven't seen each other in 40 years, and some of them haven't even been back here on campus in 40 years. It's amazing that we are able to get them together, to not only celebrate, but to come back to their campus where they spent a good part of their time and their lives as they prepared for life after Guelph. It's actually, oddly enough, it's been 40 years since a couple of the guys held my son Sean in their arms as a baby, because he was born in September of '77, which is the start of the season. And our captain actually lived with us that first year, so it's pretty special for all kinds of reasons. When I think back to this team, as I'd mentioned earlier, I started to coach these guys not long after I had graduated from here. I was a wet, behind the ears, 26-year-old maverick volleyball coach. Probably the youngest coach in the OUA at the time, and certainly was the youngest one at the CIAUs that year. It was a group of young boys that came here to play volleyball and to compete. It's a totally different game back then. Volleyball's changed a lot over the years, but back when this team played and when I played, the game went to 15. You could only score a point when you served the volleyball. You could block serves. There was all kinds of different rules. And as you can appreciate, if you can only score a point when you serve, there's a chance that you could be playing for a long time to get to 15. And that, in fact, is exactly what happens. We've played several matches that have gone on for 3 hours or more because one of the teams couldn't score a point when the other guy was serving. We played our matches in the small gym at the back of the Mitchell Center. I mentioned that earlier. And we were kind of a renegade team. It's too bad that the pictures that we have are not in color, because the uniforms that we wore, it was a red pinstripe top with relatively short black shorts. And the pictures of any of the teams playing in that era, it's kind of like the old NBA basketball uniforms where the guys are wearing those short shorts, and we wouldn't even consider doing that now. But that's the way the game was. That's the way the game was back then, and we embraced it. If you ever have a chance to see a couple of those team pictures, I look like a serial killer. I mean, I've got long hair. Obviously, I didn't know Tom Kendall at the time. I have a black beard. My hair was kind of goldy blonde with a black beard. It was the time of leisure suits, the John Travolta era, and my coaching garb was a leisure suit. I had a powder blue one with a flashy wide collar paisley shirt underneath, and I had an orange seersucker one. The boys liked the orange one, but as it turned out, it was the blue one that won us the OUA championship right here in our own turf. So it became the lucky suit. But it was really something. I mean, I got to tell you, it was something. It's too bad the pictures aren't in color. If you were to walk through the West Gym over the last few years, you'd find one lonely OUAA, it says, volleyball banner hanging from the rafters. 1977, 78. One lonely banner And every time I walk by it, I look up at it and I think to myself, man, it's hard to win. And it is hard to win. My good friend Doug Dodd down here knows only too well how that works. It reminds you of how important a championship team being together is as time goes on. And we talked about that tonight when I was together with, as I say, fellows who I haven't seen in 40 years. How at the time it was great. It was euphoric. You know, we won here in our own gym. Everything was great. I mean, there's a picture of these guys. They got me up on their shoulders, the serial killer, going through the gym, trying to find Bill Mitchell, who ended up giving our captain the trophy. But I don't think we gave it full value for how difficult it's going to be to do it again, because a lot of those guys were back again the following year, and we never got there. I know after I left in '79 to start my career, and I think between Doug and Al Bacon and coaches, they had a lot of similar players, but it's hard. And now when we talk about it, 40 years later, everybody says, wow, we never appreciated how hard it was to win an OUA championship in a game like volleyball. There's a lot of parity out there now, and I think it's starting now to sink in with these guys. I talked earlier about the values that I believe in sport, and this team is very much a very good example of how those values translate in addition to their academic prowess as their life goes on. And the ladies were just talking about it as well. These guys have become doctors. They've become teachers. They've become professors. They've become investment managers. They've become entrepreneurs, bankers, successful in many, many different areas of life, a lot of which I think is attributed to obviously the academics that they learned, but I believe a lot of it also based on the fact that they were successful athletes in a sport that they loved with a team that was successful, and it helped them get through the ups and downs of life as they go forward. I'm going to introduce the team to you by name, similar to what David has done with his group. So fellas, when you hear your name, come on up and we'll get you properly inducted. Our captain, Tony Ten Westenine, Al Braden, Dave Lemon, John Kelly, Paul Jackson, Ken Johnson, Doug Haynes. Doug Haynes now coaches for Brock against us. I'm not sure whether I should let him up here. Yeah, go ahead, Doug. Roman Lano, Bill Ketchison, Albert Matsushita, Randy Lemon, Dennis Somerton, and Beth Charles, our trainer.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted September 21st, 2018, the 1977-78 men's volleyball team. I'd like to invite the team captain, Tony Ten Westenine, to please come forward and say a few words on behalf of the team.
Well, thank you. Thank you, organizers. Thank you for the folks that put this beautiful building together. All of us come in here and just look around here in awe. It's amazing. I mean, we won our championships in that old decrepit building. It wasn't that old and decrepit back then, was it? And it wasn't even named the Mitchell building at that point, was it? So anyways, that's how far back we go. You know, we're over 60 years old. 40 years ago. I'd like to thank Jen, too. Jen, fantastic emails, just so upbeat, lots of exclamation marks. And she just seems like a real real fun and a real credit to the organization. But she said, well, you've been selected to say a few words and, talk about some memories. Well, that's a real struggle. I said, well, okay, Jen, can you send out some emails to everybody or give me the names? And of course, she wanted to protect the innocent and send out emails and BCC to everybody. And I only got 3 emails back, one just yesterday. So we're struggling with some of the memories. Now, there are some special memories I'm going to share with you. The other 2 guys I'd like to give thanks to is Cal and Larry. I mean, we're here because we're the only team that's won the provincial championships, and I'm not trying to be mean, but thanks, Cal and Larry. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been recognized because they haven't won yet. I'm sure that's going to change. All right, so let's see. Some of the memories. Bill said something about snowstorms on the way up to Sudbury to play Laurentian. He didn't think we were going to make it. Let's see what else. A couple other car accidents we had, not so great. Let's see. The Canadian Championships coming third. That was really, really awesome. We played against one of the top players in the whole world, Garth Pischke. And I used to be able to get up pretty high. And somebody had mentioned that Garth Pischke was still, his hands were like that much higher than mine. So it was a real pleasure to do that and play. And Roman, he said that he was studying in the bleachers during that tournament. A real credit to the academics here. And by the way, just as an aside, the reason why I came to this school wasn't because of the volleyball program. I was invited by UCLA, San Diego State, all the universities in the province, of course. But I came here because of the program, because of the academics. And so I guess having that goal in mind still allowed us to win the championships. All right, I want to take this quick moment to talk about Larry. His the amazing success and recognition he's got tonight is just so apropos. His intensity alone really got our butts moving. And got a couple of quotes here from some of the guys. Well, Al Braden isn't here, but he tried to pass somebody and unfortunately slipped and went into the ditch. And I don't think anybody really got permanently hurt, is it? But then Larry spoke up in his leadership voice, says, "Okay, that's it. We're getting a van for this crew." The other one that Dave Lemon remembered, and he's used this throughout his career. And when we weren't playing so well, he said, "You guys are running around like a fart in a windstorm." Real leadership for David. And one quote I remember when we weren't playing so well, he said, and he picked out one particular guy, and I think I remember who it was. He says, "He who hesitates is lost." And buddy, you're really lost. All right, well, organizers, everybody, thank you so much for inviting us, bringing us together. 40 years is a long time to try and pick out some of the specific memories, and so when we got together, we got talked and had a lot of laughs tonight and a lot of great memories. I would like to add a personal memory. There was a really cute redhead trainer on our team. And everybody, all the guys talked about her, but I got her. And we got married. And we have 3 beautiful children. 2 of them are sitting right over there. 3 grandchildren. And you know, it's amazing the decisions and the choices you make and the lives that change, the relationships that are formed, the memories. And just like Larry was saying earlier, we have grandchildren. My kids played volleyball, and even this afternoon, we got the story that my grandson says, they call me Opa Tony. That's the Dutch term for grandfathers. I want to be a big blocker too. And Allison said, volleyball is her favorite sport. Yeah, volleyball is my favorite sport too. Now he's only 4, so we hope that continues. So again, thank you so much, and an awesome evening. Enjoy the rest of the night, and we hope to come back and see a lot more inductees. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, and congratulations to the entire team. Couple quick announcements, and then I will wrap up the formal portion of the evening, because, Tom, I know we like to stay on time as much as possible. For our inductees that are still here, the 4 athletes and the 2 builders, before you dart out of here at the end of the evening, we would like to get a group picture of the 6 of you at the back. I see that the men's volleyball team is on their way back for their photo right now. Just right now, before I wrap up, if we could have all of our inductees tonight who are still in this room, please stand and be recognized with one final round of applause for the entire Hall of Fame class of 2018. As most of you know, this Hall of Fame banquet kicks off our homecoming weekend. Tomorrow, we invite you to wear your red, black, and gold and relive your Griffin spirit, reminisce about your fond memories of Guelph, and be part of the excitement. At 1 p.m., our football team takes on the Queens Gales right here at Alumni Stadium as the biggest football party in Canada. Make sure you're there. The Department of Athletics would like to extend thanks to the inductees and the championship teams, with special thanks to the Hall of Fame Planning Committee, the members of this year's Selection Advisory Committee, and the Board of Directors. Please join me in recognizing these individuals with a round of applause to make this evening happen. This concludes our program for tonight. It's been a wonderful evening, a terrific start to homecoming weekend. Welcome back to our alumni. We hope to see you throughout the weekend at all the festivities we have here on campus. Thank you for your attention throughout the evening and allowing me to be part of this event once again. Enjoy homecoming. Go Griffins, go.